Hello, everybody. Oh man, I am excited about coming to you this morning. It is a constant passion of mine to find ways to reach people, to inspire people, to encourage people, to empower people to do unbelievable things in their lives. People have a tendency to buy into a social standard that creates a social narrative that determines what one expects from themselves and others. We tend to cower down and shrink into these boxes that are created for us. And we kind of just move along or coast along in life in an attempt to um, sit up and just fit, survive, or exist. And we never challenge ourselves. We never look beyond the moment. We never look beyond the fear. We never look beyond the struggle. We never look beyond the current condition. And we never create a vision that is different from what we're living in. And we're hoping for something to change, but we are not the catalyst of change. And I just want you to understand that the change that takes place in your life, that takes you from where you are now to where you know you should be and where you know you're capable of being deep down inside, comes from you. You have to be the catalyst. And so I thought, having been a person that has experienced the highs of life and the lows of life and knowing what it feels like to be on at the bottom, I mean rock bottom, and just where you saying, okay, is it even possible for it to get worse? And it always is possible to get worse. Rock bottom is that place where you feared all of your life being, and you did enough to stay off the bottom, but you didn't do enough to get yourself to the heights of experiencing life. And the thing is, at some point in time, everybody in life is going to hit this low in life that just takes the breath away. And then you got to determine within yourself that there's something inside of you capable of lifting you out of that. And so when I looked at myself, and then I looked at the people that I had studied over the course of my life that at some point were at rock bottom. Some people were born in the rock bottom. I mean, absolute poverty, dysfunctional family, nobody to lay a model out of what success looks like, how to achieve success, nothing there but dysfunction and failure to model. And so you're born in the rock bottom and you experience it right out of the gate. Some other people were born into comfort and then fell into rock bottom. Some people were born into certain situations and rose in prominence and success, and then all of a sudden one wrong decision, one bad decision, or a series of consecutive poor decisions put them in a downward spiral, and they ended up at rock bottom. And so when they hit rock bottom, you're either going to have what's in you to lift yourself and rise out of it, or you're going to find that it will destroy you, because the pain and the intense force of being at rock bottom cannot be withstood for a long time. It will destroy you, or it will drive you to get up and do something different to get yourself out of it. And so I was saying, when I was at my lowest, what were the elements that I tapped into? What were the key components that drove me? What was it that I was able to do? And there are three things that you've got to have in place to lift yourself from rock bottom. I want you, if you know somebody, get them in, tap them in, invite them in. I want to show you something, because there's absolutely nobody that's stuck. There's absolutely nobody that's stuck where they're at. There's nobody that has to be where they're at. The problem is, most of us have bought into some sort of narrative or idea of what we're capable of or where we belong. We've accepted poor relationships, disruptive relationships, violent relationships, abusive relationships as our lot in life. We have accepted poverty and poor money management as our lot in life. We've accepted immobility and social impotence and political impotence as our lot in life. We have bought into the idea that we have this tiny little space that we operate in, and that's all we have, that's all we'll ever have. And we try to make that little space as comfortable as possible, while deep inside, late at night, when we're quiet, dreaming of some other reality that we're doing nothing to create. And all that does is torture you, torment you, and suck what little life you have in you out of you. You can't have an idea of something better and never have a real true belief of having it. It will destroy you. But that's what most people do. Statistics say 85% of people in this country, regardless of race, regardless of socioeconomic background, wake up and go to work every day to a job they absolutely hate, because they bought into a lie that they had to. They bought into a lie that that's the only way to do what they need to be done just to survive in this world. So I'm looking and I'm looking, I'm saying, okay, if I had to articulate what drove me and how I got out of rock bottom, how I went from being way up here to way down here, and just being really in a, I mean, when I hit rock bottom in a city that I didn't like, that I moved to cultivate a relationship that fell apart. And I'm there in this city, don't really know maybe 2 or 3 people in a personal way. And I'm sitting in this city and I'm rock bottom. I got pride working against me because I can't let people know that I'm right here. I've got all of these things. I'm not in a comfortable place. And so I'm sitting here and I'm going, what am I going to do? And then I sit up and I said, pull yourself together. You know what to do. You're built for this. So I settled myself, and find a place to settle yourself. Every morning, wake up and remind yourself that everything you need to change your situation is out there. It's either inside of you or it's within your grasp. There's nothing that locks you into your current situation. You have the ability to climb out of it if you're willing to put in the work. So the first thing I realized is that it was going to be hard, that what I had to go through to rise up and get myself off the ground, literally, and lift myself up and to recover what I had lost and to move beyond that, there had to be something strong enough, powerful enough, big enough to push me. That's your why. So I had to find inside of me something big enough. What was my why? Was it, my pride? That wasn't going to be big enough, because some of the things that I was going to encounter would have sucked up the pride and backed me down. What was it, just money? No, because if it was just money, the moment I got to a point to where I was financially comfortable, I'd have slowed down. What was it? To me, it was the fact that my family needed me to prove that everything is possible, that I needed to be a model for people who would look at my life as an example of how you manage adversity. I needed to leave a legacy that said nothing came that kept me down. So I stood up and said, this is about my kids and my grandkids. This is about my future wife. I wasn't married at the time. This is about my future wife. They need to see somebody that was down but not out. And so my why became my legacy. So whatever your why is, and some people it's going to be your kids. Some people it's going to be a drive to have financial freedom where you never have to worry about a bill again. Some people it's going to be the impact that you are going to make in the world, in the community, and everything that you touch. But whatever it is, it's got to be big. Why? Because your why will determine what you're willing to go through. See, some things, like I said, if it was just money, the moment I got enough money to be comfortable, it'll stop me. I would have never reached the pinnacle of my potential if it was just about money. I had to find something so big that not only would I not find a point in place in time in which I was going to stop, there would also be nothing so big, so painful, so difficult, so challenging that it would slow me down. The moment I get to a challenge now, because my why is so big, I can step out of myself, which may be uncomfortable. I may be uncomfortable. I may be looking at something saying, man, this is crazy. I'm not, but there's something bigger than me. This is not simply about me. My why is about my legacy. It's about what people will know about me and how it impacts their lives. So now I'm looking at this and say, I can't quit. I can't quit right now. I can't quit. It's too many people need to see what's possible, no matter how dark it is. There's a lot of people that's bought into the idea when it gets this dark, there's no way out. There are a lot of people taking their lives because they can't see beyond the moment. You've got to stand up, Rick. You've got to be the answer that no matter how hard you fall, no matter how far you fall, there's something inside of you that can lift you up if you're willing to commit. So the first thing I had to do was identify my why. That's why so many of you quit when it gets tough. Your why ain't big enough. That's why so many of you jump to the next easy thing when this part of your life gets difficult. You said you wanted it, but now it's difficult, so you're jumping over here looking for a straighter path, an easier path, something more level. You're tired of climbing, you're tired of moving, you're tired of scratching and stuffing yourself. But that's where the power comes. That's where the ability and the confidence comes from. That's where the knowledge of self is determined. That's where character is built. You gotta know your why. Then it doesn't stop there. The second thing is, one of the biggest things I found is that people may have an idea of what they want, but they haven't matched their standards with their vision. See, here's the problem. See, you got this vision of financial freedom, wealth, a multi-million-dollar business, but you got Popeye's cashier standards. Now, please understand what I'm saying. I have nothing against Popeye's cashiers because I need them there when I go in and I buy. But I have a problem with a Popeye's cashier that has $1 million vision. See, you can't have a cashier mindset and $1 million vision. Now, if you're okay with being a cashier, if that's what you are, and you just love engaging people and meeting their needs, and you like that zone you're in, that's who you are right now, and that's you, and I'm good with that. What I have a problem with is the person who says they want this, but they're harboring this mind. See, you can have this vision, but if your mindset or your standard is sitting down here, you will function at the level of your standards. Your standards set the demands of your performance. Now, if my standards are here, but my vision is here, I'm performing here, I will never see the vision, and eventually I will get tired of thinking about something that I'll never see, and I will lower my vision and my expectation or my desire. And I'm constantly removing myself from something that's possible because I'm not willing to raise my standards. See, when you raise your standards, you do two things. You set a bar of performance, but you also lower your level of tolerance. When you raise your standards, your tolerance for excuses is lowered. When you raise your standard, your tolerance for half doing things and being around people who do things is lowered. When you raise your standards, you can't be in a space where people aren't pushing to do everything in their power. Ask yourself, why is it that there are things out there right now that people can do that will put them 4 or 5 times ahead of where they're at right now? They already have the capacity. You look at them, know they can do it, but they only do enough just to get by. Why? Because they're functioning within the confines of the standards that they've set for their lives. Look, you've got to match your standards with your visions. And I'm going to talk to you about that in the next step. But here's, you got to match your standards with your vision. You say, man, and even some of you that have experienced a level of success, you've gotten to a point in your success that you've reached a plateau. You're at a plateau. You're like, man, why can't? Because you've reached the level of your standards. You can have $1 million vision all day, but if you got $100,000 standard, you're going to be stuck at $100,000. You've got to be able to change the standards of your performance, the standards of your engagement. How many hours are you going to study your craft every day? How many hours are you going to commit to being better and refining yourself every day? How many books are you going to be committed to reading a month? And see, that's a direct correlation with that and success. The average American only reads 1 book a year. The top 3 The 5% of top performers in this country read 3 to 4 to 5 books a month. The people you look at and think, man, they got it all, they know it all, and they just chilling, reading books. While you hanging out and turning up, they reading books. While you watching the movie that's bringing nothing to you, they're reading books. So how much of that are you willing to commit? Where's your standard at? How much are you willing to go after? How much are you willing to let go hanging out with the boys and hanging out with the girls to get in a good book that's going to teach you about what it is you're trying to do down the line? I've been doing what I've been doing for 30 years, and I'm still reading books. I'm still studying studies. I'm still doing studies on people that I know that have performed in what I do exceptionally well. I'm breaking it down, introspective examination. I'm in the process right now of expansion. And so I understand in order to be able to facilitate and found the necessary foundation, to create the foundation and facilitate what I'm trying to do, I've got to have the level of expertise to support it. So I'm grinding, I'm teaching, I'm learning, I'm gathering. All of this stuff is constant daily. I don't quit. But that's got to be a passion behind it. That takes you back to the why, the first step. The second step is you got to match your standards with your vision. Here's the flip side of it. There's some of you out there with unbelievable standards, but your vision sucks. You have this work ethic that's second to none. Your employer is absolutely crazy about you because you show up early, you put in the work. If they ask you to do 15, you do 20. All of these different things. You got this unbelievable standard about how you're going to do things in life. You don't leave anything unturned. You make your bed perfect. You brush your teeth perfect. You make sure you keep your car. I mean, just everything about you is about excellence. But your vision is lacking. See, it's still not matching. You got all this thing, you're doing everything right. You ask yourself, man, I do everything right. I always do everything right. But I never get out of it because you haven't lifted your vision. You're stuck in believing that what somebody else offers you is all that is available to you. You're not writing your own story. You're not creating your own narrative. You're not opening up your imagination to create a new life for yourself inside of your mind first. And if you can't see it in your mind, you can't have it. Nobody's going to drop you off something that you can't even create in your own mind and hold dear to you as something you're going after. So not only does the person who has the unbelievably high desires and visions and things they want have to raise their standards, but the person who has these unbelievable standards has to raise their vision. So you want that to line up. You want your standards to be directly in correspondence to your vision. And now you're operating mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, and even physically in the same mindset, in the same focus, on the same frequency, emitting the same vibrations, attracting the things you need to make it happen. Match your standards with your vision. Finally, what's the third thing? You got to shift. You got to create a shift in your thinking that substantiates this new behavior. See, your life is driven by paradigms. Paradigms are simply a lens through which you view life and you determine how you relate to the world, how the world relates to you, how the world affects you, how you have the ability to affect the world. A paradigm is going to determine whether you see life as a victim or a victor. A paradigm is going to determine whether you see life as something that's happening to you or responding to you. Your paradigm is going to shape how you interpret the stimuli and information that you're encountering on a daily basis as a part of your life experience. Your paradigm is immensely important to your ability and willingness to do something. If you look at other people all day long and wonder what in the world made them do that. They're functioning from a different paradigm than you. You're sitting up, and if you've never been in an inner city community and lived there, you're looking at the behavior of certain people and maybe in the level of violence that they're so easily willing to perpetrate on others, and you're going, I don't understand what makes a person do that. They're functioning from a different paradigm than you. They're functioning from a survival and respect paradigm that says if you disrespect me, I have a responsibility to handle you a certain way. Or if I don't deal with this now, they're going to deal with me later. That's a new paradigm that you are not familiar with, but they function in every day. If you want them to change how they're behaving, you got to give them a new environment and create a new paradigm. That's called a paradigm shift. Now, that's the extreme, but let me show you how you can get caught up in a paradigm that will lock you into low-level living. You can get caught in a paradigm that says, because I came from a broken home, there's only so far I can go. Because I came from a broken home and I didn't know my father, I'm destined for prison. I'm destined to be a dropout. I'm destined to be a failure. Because I'm not good at math, I'll never excel in business because I won't be able to count my money and manage my money. All these little things are paradigms that are shaping why you do something and why you don't and how you're moving forward. You got something in front of you, especially if you're a person that has many times have opportunities come by you and you won't jump them. You won't seize them. You won't go after them. Shift your paradigms. Your paradigm is broken. There is a process that you have to go through that you shift paradigms. You've got to know your why. You've got to make your standards match your vision. And you've got to shift paradigms. You've got to create this paradigmatic shift that takes you from a type of thinking that has solidified your space in time and say, I'm better than that. And that doesn't happen overnight, but I can tell you, you can shift a paradigm in 30 days or less if you follow a set process of knowing how to impact your mind. You are constantly, every day, creating new neural pathways through which beliefs and ideas are held in the way of memories and interpretations. And those beliefs are either going to support your current beliefs or cause you to shift in the way you believe things. So most people will support their current belief system because it's comfortable. So you take in stimuli in the music you listen to, in the television shows you watch, in the news clips you look at, in the people you socialize with Facebook, the people you hang out with in the clubs are all supporting your current paradigm. Y'all all are comfortable around each other because your thinking is the same. So if you want new neural pathways that produce new thinking, you got to expose yourself to new things. You got to pick up a book you haven't read. You got to sit down with somebody that has a different way of looking at things than you do. You've got to sit down and call on somebody that has an experience or knowledge that can take you beyond where you're at. You've got to be willing to do some things that change your paradigm. When you change your paradigm, when you shift paradigm, it changes how you view things, your perspective. Your perspective is your interpretation of a situation. And I could take 10 people from 10 different places and put them in the same identical situation, and how they see it would be different based on their paradigm. You want to know why some people who go through the same thing end up here, and others who went through the same thing end up here, down low, and there's this big difference. Paradigm. How they're viewing life, how they're perceiving their reality, how they perceive themselves inside of their reality. If I believe that life is happening to me, I am helpless to stop anything from happening. So, or to change anything that has happened. So I'm sitting there and I am a victim of my own circumstances, which is actually a victim of my own thinking, because now I'm thinking and creating this cyclical process in which my thoughts produce a reality that I'm not happy with, that reinforce the thoughts that created the reality in the first place. And I go on until I'm able to create a paradigm shift that changes my thinking, challenges my way of life, challenges my view of life, drives me to do something different. I'm always going to have the same results. You've got to shift your thinking. You got to create a paradigm shift that's completely in diametric opposition to the way you've been thinking. You've got to put yourself as far away from the current reality as possible in what you are demanding and expecting of yourself. And then there are those in the middle, and then I'll be done. There are those in the middle that to me, the middle is like the dangerous place. You know, if you're a Christian, you probably read Revelation and you hear the talk about the Laodiceans and the being lukewarm. You know, why was lukewarm such something that's such despised? See, if something's hot, It's on fire. You know it. You feel it. You have the passion is there. If you're cold, you ain't hot. If you're cold, you know you ain't hot. The problem is you can get comfortable as hell being lukewarm. That's what happens with people who have experienced a certain level of success. They're not worried about the bills. The bills getting paid. They're pretty much driving something that they can feel proud about. So they're good in that area. Kids are doing pretty well, going through school. Maybe they've gotten to a point where kids are either about to go to college or in college and are graduated from college. And, man, I've done a pretty good job parenting. I've done a pretty good job in my career. I'm pretty good. I'm going to be all right if I retire right now. I got enough money in my 401k, or I got enough money set aside and in investment. I'm doing good. And you got comfortable. And then you locked your mind into where you were okay. Is okay. And so what happens then? You stop aspiring. Remember, you're on a continuum. To the last breath you take, you are on a continuum. On this continuum, you are never going to be in the best possible position you can be in. You're going to have something you can do, someplace you can go, someone you can talk to, some new project you can take that will elevate you to an even higher level. It's called next level living. You've got to always be grateful for the level you obtained, but aspiring to the next level. If you don't do that, you're going to find yourself, man, I've been here for a while. And then you're going to start to feel this feeling you probably won't be able to explain. It's the feeling of a lack of fulfillment. It's an emptiness on the inside. Man, I got the nice wife, I got the nice husband, I got the nice car, I got a nice home, kids out of the house, everything's good. Why am I feeling empty? Because you were never meant to stop. You were never meant to settle. You were never meant to sit there and say, I finally made it. You were meant to keep climbing, to keep growing, to keep fulfilling, to keep tapping into that potential that's absolutely limitless and activating it and actualizing it and showing the world what's possible, not only through your words, but through your behavior and through everything that they see in your life. I have never reached a point in my life when I was at the pinnacle of where I've been personally. I wasn't satisfied with it. I wasn't even close to being satisfied. And matter of fact, I was so aggressive, it led to my tumbling down and having to start over. And to be totally honest, I've never met anybody that hasn't had that happen at some degree, where you got everything, you think you're set for life, and all of a sudden you look up and you're starting over. There's a saying that says the average millionaire goes broke, and broke to a millionaire is different than broke to you, but goes broke at least 3 times. So with that being said, you've got to know your why. If you don't have a why that's big enough, you're going to quit. You won't go the distance if your why isn't big enough. So you're going to meet some delay. You're going to meet some disappointment. You're going to meet some devastation. You're going to meet some pain along the way. You can't circumvent the vicissitudes of life. You're going to get some stuff that's going to happen to you. And if your why isn't big enough, you're going to shut down. You're going to back up. You're going to relent. You're going to turn around. You're going to run. But if your why is big enough, you got to suck it up. When your why is big enough, if I'm going to tell you, it's like, but what if my why isn't big? Man, if you've got a wife or kids, which is a large predominant part of us, your why is big enough, because them alone, your wife alone, your children alone is enough to drive you through anything, because you need to be the best you can be for them. Not good for them, not even great for them, but the best at any moment that you're in life. You need to be that, because they are gleaning from you. Your legacy is opening doors for them. Yeah, you might be comfortable because you make things significantly more comfortable for them. If you worked harder and kept going, could you open up a door to where your grandkids never had to start at the bottom? Could you open a door where your grandkids never had to take out a student loan, never had to take out a business loan? Could you create that reality? Absolutely you could, if you stop being okay with where you're at and demand more of yourself. But you got to have the why. Then you got to have the standard of performance, the standard of excellence that is in a direct correspondence and equivalent to the vision. They can't be so significantly offset with one another, because you're not going to have what it takes to make things happen. And finally, you got to create a paradigm shift. And that's what I have for you today. Speaking of paradigm shifts, I created a course a while ago. I'm also going to be doing a masterclass on paradigm shifts, but I created a course that is a autonomous course. You get the course, you go through the course, you work with me 3 times at the beginning of the course, at the middle of the course, and at the end of the course to accomplish this paradigm shift. It's 30 days. It is a mental requirement and a mental practice, and it's possible. Anybody can create a paradigm shift that is significantly different than the paradigm they currently hold. And that's what this course does. It's not the same as working with me over a 12-week, 6-month, or a year, period, like some of my other packages, which is one-on-one engagement, one-on-one coaching, one-on-one counseling, therapeutic sessions, and so forth. But if you're looking specifically, I need to change my thinking. If that's where you want to start, these courses, and there are several different levels. The link is there. Go check it out. Once you sign and enroll, you'll get an email initially from the support team to set up the initial engagement with me, which is roughly about 30 to 45 minutes. We're going to talk about where you're at, where you're going, how we're going to get you there in the way of thinking. And that's what we're doing. We're getting to a point. If I could get you to change your paradigm, the rest of it will be easy. It's still some things you're going to have to learn. Still some things you're going to have to make adjustments. But your thinking is going to guide your movement. 96% of your overall behavior is habitually guided by your subconscious. You're doing it automatically without you consciously thinking about it. 96% of your day is controlled by what's going on beneath the surface. You got to change it. You got to shift it. You got to change the way that your brain, your subconscious, your non-conscious brain, your subconscious mind interprets everything you encounter, because how it interprets it determines how you respond to it. All right, that's it for now. Look, I've enjoyed sharing with you this morning. I hope you get from this. If you didn't get people in, share it with them, tag them in it. Get together and maybe go in and get the Power of Paradigms course. But I'm telling you, that's the first step. It's literally changing the way you view life, changing the lens through which you see life, moving from being a victim to a victor, moving from believing that life is happening to you to life is responding to you and happening for you. Moving from the idea that there's this big universe and world that you have absolutely no power in, to understanding that you are the dominant force in your world and that you can change any situation if you remain committed to changing it. That's it. Look, one thing I'm going to leave you with is this. Don't leave this world not having tapped into your potential. Don't leave this world without leaving behind a legacy that says you came, you saw, and you conquered. Don't leave this world and send to the grave with your remains any book that should have been written, any business that should have been started, any message that should have been shared, any lives that could have been changed, and on and on and on down the line, the things that are inside of you that you think about when nobody's around, that you know you have a love and a passion to do. And inside of you, you have the potential, but you won't go after it because don't be that person. Live your life on full and die on E. If you live your life on full every day, go to bed on E. Whenever you get to that point where it's your time to go, you're going to leave this place on E. And you're going to leave everything you could have possibly done behind to speak for you after you're gone. That's what life is about. That's why we talk about certain people that's been dead for 50, 60, 70, 100, 1,000 years. Because they lived their lives on full and they died on E. Now it's your turn. I'm out of here. Peace.